Hey everybody, I am Spencer and I am really excited to go over KLIMA DAO. This video is going to be a quick overview of KLIMA DAO, some back of the napkin type math, etc. If you're already familiar, you can skip this one, but you might find nuggets in the next 3 videos, which will go into more depth. So the first video is going to go into the tokenomics of it. If you don't know what Olympus is or Olympus forks, then this is going to explain all those mechanisms. It's going to go through why a 27,000% APY is not a total scam. Tokenomics, finances, how do you price these things? Why is it trading in multiple? What is backing? What does that mean? All that stuff. The next video will be talking about the carbon markets. So KLIMA specifically cares about carbon credits and the carbon markets. And so we're going to be deep diving into the carbon markets. How do they work? What markets are there? What's the difference, fragmentation, quality of credits? How are credits aggregated? How are credits burned? How are credits put on chain? How are on-chain credits burned? All that kind of stuff. The third video will be kind of my ramblings. A lot of it will be about how do you value these projects, Olympus forks in general and KLIMA in specific. When do you know it's a good deal versus a bad deal? And some of the things that I found very interesting that I think you need a lot of the context in order to be able to understand. With that, let's do a quick overview. So, KLIMA, it says, drive climate action and earn rewards. I think that really summarizes why I love it. And this is a good time for the disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Okay, so I like to do things that I feel like are improving the world. And I think that KLIMA checks that box. And I also like to do things where I make money. KLIMA also checks that box, at least in theory. Basically, what it is, hey, let's pool our money together in a big treasury. Let's take that treasury and go buy so many carbon credits that the price of carbon credits gets way jacked up. Doubles, triples, whatever. And because the price of carbon credits goes up, so this is what a company uses, some big oil company uses to offset their carbon emissions or whatever. Sorry, give me 1 second. The cat needs out. Okay, so some big oil company is trying to offset their emissions, so they buy carbon credits, right? From some tree farm who plants so many trees per year, so they get so many credits equivalent to the amount of carbon that they capture. So by raising the price of carbon credits, you make it more profitable for people to start these green companies, tree farms or whatever. And you also make it more profitable or less expensive for companies to reduce their emissions by buying credits. And instead you incentivize them to actually reduce their emissions, right? Like implement cleaner technology, etc. I love that. I love that we have the ability to change the way the world works without having to go through legislation and bureaucracy. I also love that I think I can make a lot of money on it. So here's how it works. You give a carbon credit, we'll say a BCT, which let me just pull that up. So this is a base carbon ton. Okay, so this is carbon credits equal to offsetting 1 carbon ton, which right now costs about $6. And you give it to KLIMA. In fact, you give them $187 worth of these base carbon tons. Okay. And then they give you 1 KLIMA, which is backed by 1 base carbon ton. Okay, so why would I give them like 20 base carbon tons and they give me 1? Well, the idea is if you keep your KLIMA and you stake it, then they will reward you over time for having put that value into the treasury. And in a year, you will have, at the current rate, 270 KLIMAs, which again are backed by at least 1 base carbon ton. So you give 20, you wait a year, you get 270. That's the basic premise of how the tokenomics work. And then what what KLIMA does is they take all that carbon, again, they remove it from the ecosystem, so the price of the base carbon ton goes up, so then the value of their treasury goes up, so then the value of your KLIMA goes up, but they also make fees off like liquidity pools and trading, things like that. They make some fees here and there, just to give some idea on the numbers that we're looking at. They've sequestered 14.3 million tons of carbon. And this is just more numbers. They're currently valued at $250 million. So their treasury has 8 million BCT in it. And along with some other stuff that it has, they have $140 million of assets in their treasury. And then they make some revenue, like I was saying. Here you can see they've made about $10 million in 3 months that they've existed off liquidity pool fees. So 1/25 of their market cap. Okay. Again, I will go into way more detail on that on the second one, but I'm just trying to give you a really quick overview of KLIMA, what it is, to make sure I didn't miss anything from this page. Nope, that's it. So let's just do some back of the napkin math. So an interesting thing about KLIMA is you can kind of value it like bonds a lot more than your traditional DeFi crypto. Like you can't really value Bitcoin, it just depends on the amount of adoption, right? Things like that. KLIMA, it gives you some numbers to play with that you can put into calculators and make some projections. So I want to touch on that point again of why is KLIMA, if one KLIMA token is basically one base carbon ton, why is KLIMA so much more expensive than one base carbon ton, right? Let's talk about US Treasury bonds. So let's say that there's a bond that you could buy for $100, and in 10 years it'll vest and the US Treasury pays you $200, okay? That makes plenty of sense. If you were to get this bond and then sell it on the marketplace, somebody might pay you $110 for your bond. Why would they pay you $110 for something that was worth $100? It's because there is a promise that in the future it will be worth $200. So $100 plus time equals $200, and they will give you more than the $100 because they value that time value. Okay? Now let's try and figure that out with KLIMA. I'll just leave that there. Okay, the rebase rate is how often you accrue interest on KLIMA. So you get 0.47% interest about 3 times a day, which ends up having an APY of about 27,000%. KLIMA price right now was, I think, $190. Is that right? Yep. And let's say that you start off with 10 KLIMA. So you've spent, $1,900 to get what is essentially 10 base carbon tons. Really 10 KLIMA tokens, which are backed by a base carbon ton. In a year, then, you will get about 2,700 KLIMA, which means that the amount you put in is equal to this times this, and the amount you end with is equal to this times this. Okay, $2,000 to $500,000 in a year. Probably sounds too good to be true. It definitely is. So let's poke some holes in this. First off, KLIMA is inflationary, so the price should go down. Let's assume that the price goes all the way down to the price of the carbon credit. That's $6 right now. So let's see, 16. So what this is saying is if you buy the one klima, you take the bad deal, you give over some of your money, right? Just like you would give over some of your money to U.S. Treasury. Then in 1 year, for that $2,000, you will get 16 grand, about 8x your money. That's an incredibly good deal. We still need to poke some holes in that. This APY will reduce over time. It starts high to incentivize people, and for some other reasons that I'll get into detail later. But it starts high and it reduces with time. A more realistic number of what you could actually project for the next year, based on what Olympus has done and what the KLIMA team has said their projected goals are, is, let's say, 8,000%. That's a little conservative. I tend to do 10,000%, but I think 8,000% is a pretty safe bet. Okay, so 8,000% means that we would end up with 800 KLIMA, so $4,800. And now you see that in the realm of decentralized finance, we're not looking at something so ludicrous. A little bit more than doubling your money if things work out the way that the KLIMA team intends. And I am very bullish on these numbers. So there was a time, let me show you the KLIMA chart just really quick. I don't want to get too much into price speculation here, but there was a time when one KLIMA cost $3,600. So if we did the same thing like that, you would have paid $36,000 and maybe gotten $4,800. But the price has gone down a lot. In fact, right now in the Treasury, there's about $100 per KLIMA of assets. So it's trading about double the assets that it has. Now, it only has to, the only promise that they make to you, that it will have $6 of assets behind it, one base carbon ton, which the price can change. In reality, they have about $100 of stuff floating around for every KLIMA out there right now. But you can see that right now we're looking at some really good numbers where, as long as the protocol survives, there's no hack that occurs or mass exodus of interest, like lack of trust in the team to where everybody pulls their money out. You're looking at doubling your money in a year or a little bit more. And even in the case of max exodus, I'll go into this more later, but you're still only looking at maybe losing half. Okay, I think that's enough for the first video. To summarize, KLIMA DAO is a big treasury, kind of like a hedge fund. It buys up carbon credits, jacks the price of carbon credits up, pays you out rewards for giving it some extra money to buy credits up front with, and its price will go down, but because you get more rewards, you should be in the profit, and especially in the profit if it achieves its goal of jacking this price up. Because if the price doubled, if the price tripled, you're looking at making some really good money off this. Thanks, and stay tuned for the next videos.